Hey peeps, it's Mella Ubedoble and
Ambro.
and welcome. So, today's topic is titled Philosophy. And basically, Ambro will be outlining the entire course for us, but before we get to that, please use this opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Do not forget to turn on those notifications and hit the like button for this video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's allow Ambro to do her magic.
Okay, so philosophy on your offense is pretty simple when you look at it from afar. When you start off with the first semester, what they're gonna do is basically just introduce you to the concept of philosophy by introducing famous philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle and all those people, where you learn more about philosophy from their perspective and how it started to gain traction during ancient Greece and also Roman times. So you get to see how it became popular, how people were opposing philosophy, how it also influenced a lot of things during the time and societies during that time. Then as the semester goes on, what you're going to learn more and focus more on is African philosophers. So how they do this, they bring the focus is more general and basic, you know, the philosophy.
Yeah.
And then you go into a more, both a contemporary philosophy as well as a regional philosophy. So it's going to be philosophy in Africa and especially philosophy in cultural aspects. So black philosophy and also philosophy that is like pre-apartheid mostly. And then the second semester is just a continuation of that by looking at more regional philosophy and then also of more philosophical concepts such as feminism in philosophy and how female philosophers also like influence philosophy as a whole. Like at first during ancient Greece there was only like a lot of male dominating aspects in the whole society as a whole, you know, like only males were getting education, only they were able to like interact with the politics as a whole and everything else. The woman was basically just moved to a more household aspect, you know, where she was just taking care of the house. She wasn't allowed to be educated and all those type of things. So we saw to see, yes, basically, if you can look at it like that way. It wasn't just a mom.
It wasn't just a mom.
They had to take care of everything. You know?
Such a local thing though.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like, to be honest, I feel like some girls should still practice those old, what do you call that? Yeah, I don't know
The
what
habits.
The habits? Yeah, I feel like some of them should still practice it, but then along with the modernism, you know, to it. But I feel like there are some people who take it too seriously, or they're too modern and then they kind of forget their roots and then they challenge men in a way. That's one thing I really don't like in a sense. I don't know why I had to mention that, but yeah, I just...
No, it makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
They look at philosophy, with philosophy they look at gender as well.
Gender, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the question does come also in like the woman's place. Yeah, but then when they focus it on African philosophy, it's more like the African space also. So then they first look at that, the influence on women and women's influence both equally at the same time. And then also like our place in philosophy. Like when we think of philosophy, we think of it like as a Western thought. But that's not true, since we also developed our own philosophies here in Africa, South Africa, you know, with like, especially with apartheid and with this division of cultures and races and all those type of things.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to think critically about those type of things, and that's where most of the thinkings came from, you know, trying to find a black person's space within the world or within society, you know, trying to find where they belong or where they fit in, like all those type of things. And that's where some of the things stem from. Like they started to look at Black communities and the concept of Ubuntu, the person's place within the community and the community's relationship with the person. So that's what the first year is basically about, you know, trying to give you the idea of what philosophy is and then centralizing it to Africa. You know, that's in general, that's what this first year is.
Okay, that's good. It's very broad, very broad.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
But then it starts to go in detail as well, you know.
I just like that the section in the second semester that you've mentioned. It gives off this vibe of unity and just bringing things together. I like that idea.
It was very interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Especially since last year when we did this, you know, like who is African, who can we say is African, like is it African people indigenous to the continent? Or is it Black people, even if they're like not living in Africa, even if they're like somewhere in the US or Europe or whatever, are they still African? Are we African? Are white people African, you know, non-Black people? That's the type of questions that was raised generally. And so, remember last year there was this thing about like colored culture and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Where the coloreds were especially singled out of like saying, no, but they don't have cultures and all those type of things. It really, that was the right time.
That is so subjective though.
Yeah, it is. I was very frustrated with this.
Yeah, because we are a part of that, so
yeah.
I get the personal relation to that. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Yeah.
And so what frustrated me mostly when I was doing philosophy and this whole thing about the colored race came about, they were only looking at it from a Black perspective. They were not considering anyone else, you know. And then I was sort of thinking, but if there's only this concern about like the Black person, like the cultural aspects that comes with being a Black person, where does that leave us who's not Black but not white either, you know, like Asian people in Africa, Indian people, colored people. And so I started thinking like, okay, philosophy concerning Black people isn't just about the cultural aspects, isn't just about Ubuntu, because everyone else has like a different concept of what culture is for them, or what philosophies they will introduce within their culture or within their family or whatever the case may be. So it started making me think of my place within the world, within society. And I felt very small, you know, when all of this came up, I felt so small. But then also it made me look at everything way more critically. And that's what I really liked about it last year.
I can imagine. Let's dive into the second year. Let's start with that one. Yeah.
So philosophy in the second year, both the first and second semester, can basically be seen as the political aspects. Now, philosophy is political influence, you know, like first they look at how philosophy has influenced the government and the thinking associated with like politics and all those type of things. And then the second semester, I think it's also like focused on revolutions. Like we look at how philosophical thinking has led to many revolutionary uprisings, such as the American Revolution as well as the French Revolution, which is what we go into detail like the first half of the semester. And then the second half is just basically everything afterwards, like the Industrial Revolution, and Karl Marx and all those type of things is where we go into like literally the political aspect of philosophy and how philosophy has influenced all these new ideas and ideals to like take a rise and gain popularity and all those type of things. The first semester is also just like a general approach to like get you more comfortable with thinking of philosophy in like a political way, you know, seeing how it has influenced many of the laws and the regulations that we have today, and what is philosophy's place within politics, basically, you know.
Okay.
Wow. So many of the readings that we do is like, it's long readings actually. If I think about it now, you will see like, okay, people are very critical about philosophy's place in politics, first of all. And then how people use philosophy to like further their own interests, basically, you know, like how it's also not a good thing to like sometimes associate philosophy with all these things, but also it helps you to think critically about this whole government situation of politics in general and so on. So
I can imagine how much research you guys have to do, especially in terms of politics.
it's a lot of research, especially if you don't have any knowledge about politics going
Yeah,
in
I
beforehand.
can imagine. I might be one of those people, you know.
I am one of those
Yeah.
people also.
Great.
I don't know a thing,
Yeah.
but here I am doing this. I just have to make do with what I have, you know.
With the right sources, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. Okay.
So the third year is, I think what they're doing on campus now is they're going to introduce a new module that is linked with philosophy. This new module is the philosophy of technology, where you look at the technological influence on society, you know, but like in a philosophical way, like how much has technology influenced our thinking, our daily activities, how much we are able to do and how much we're still restricted in so many ways, you know. And then the other module is just basic philosophy, so, you know, like we go further more with Aristotle and all those type of things.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So,
So it's kind of like you guys bring back what you guys learned from the first year, because you've dealt with all these philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, and all these people, and then bringing it back.
yeah, it's always going to be some echo of them. Like even now, we always refer back to Aristotle's thinkings or Plato's or Socrates, and you know, there's always going to be them there in the background. They're like some person whispering in your ear, like, don't forget me.
Don't forget me, I'm still here.
I'm still here.
Still here. I still exist.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
The nice thing that I have to mention, which is also like a very bad thing about philosophy here, is we get weekly comprehension tests about the work that we've done for the week, basically. So they test you on how much you know, how much knowledge you've gained, how much do you understand, basically. And they also test how well you're able to argue your opinions. So if you do philosophy, you're going to always be tested on how well you argue. You know, that's the main thing. You can't say anything like, oh, the sky is green, but then you have to substantiate your argument. You have to say, like, why do you believe the sky is green? What do you have to support this fact? And it doesn't have to be necessarily factual, but it has to be structured, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really cool what they do. You actually engage with the material more if you do this as well.
And I'm sure you also end up believing those things, right? If they're convincing. Like
This
this thing of the sky being green, I
Sometimes
feel like it can be very convincing.
it can be very convincing.
Very good argument for that.
Yeah, it is. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I never considered about it. Like, okay, yeah, maybe if I look at it from this way, then okay, the sky might actually
Depends on
be
perspective.
green.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I'm really like just absorbing all this information. It's interesting.
It's a lot to take in, but it's like it makes you think sometimes, you know.
Yeah. But it's good, you know. Critical things are very good. I mean, you're speaking to an overthinker over here, so.
Yes, critically thinking and not just like going away with your thoughts. It's very important, you know.
Yeah.
Within your academic life or just life in general, you know, considering things.
Yeah. Okay, peeps, so that was it for today. We've learned so much about philosophy. Honestly, I'm still trying to absorb everything. It was really interesting. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, when you go into philosophy or any other module within the humanities faculty, it's always important to keep an open mind when considering these things. You know, like every time you get introduced to a new topic, always consider everything from every angle, you know. I know it may seem like a lot, but really it's going to help you in the long run, really.
I can imagine you can actually apply it to your daily life.
Yeah.
But peeps, if you guys want any information on her social media and mine, you'll find it at the end of this video. And if you guys have missed the introduction to this entire University of the Free State series, then click over here, go check it out, and leave a comment in the comment section. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Too.